and Joe Show. I'm the dad.
I'm the Joe.
And this is the show where we encourage fathers and sons to talk about important life issues so we can stay awake
and
sober because it's a good way to live life.
Indeed.
Got a little mustache happening there.
A little bit.
It's looking good. It's coming in.
The beard too.
Yeah, a little beard. We've had that going for a while. Last podcast, we talked about vision, and we encouraged all of you after the podcast to come up with at least 5 areas of where you'd have vision. And then I told you that we were going to talk about routine next, but we're going to slide one in between vision and routine, and we're going to talk about priorities today, because priorities are going to make a big difference when it comes to thinking about the kind of routine that we want to carry out our vision. So I have our little card, which will vision again. This is the 5 things that we talked about for vision last time we chatted. But let's talk a bit about priorities today. When you think about priorities, we have priorities as a family with your sisters.
Right.
We have priorities. The church has priorities, I suppose. We have priorities as parents. We have priorities for you as parents. You have priorities. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes there's some overlap. When you think about priorities, what would you say is the biggest difference between priorities that Mom and I have, maybe for ourselves, for our family, for you, and the priorities that you have for yourself?
Yeah. I'd say some priorities I just have for myself is just obviously like lifting, as everybody knows. Right now, like doing well in school.
That was one of your points for vision, was around physical strength and growth in sports.
Hanging out with friends. Friends are a big priority in my life. I really like hanging out with people. Sleeping. I love sleeping. It's been getting really nice lately. And and just one priority I could see. I mean, just for today, because it's fresh in my mind.
Yep.
But obviously there's way more. But like I was playing some Fortnite, right? And my mom, for like right after school, didn't have any practice. Just got done lifted a couple of days ago, so my muscles were still sore. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go straight home, relax, Playing some Fortnite. Mom comes downstairs. Never thought this would ever happen as a 17-year-old, but my mom comes downstairs and she's like, "You went on video games too much." And I was like, "Mom, I literally haven't played a single video game in like the past 2 years. Like this is like the first time." And
so Mom had some priorities for you.
Yeah.
Or she felt that maybe yours were not well placed.
Yeah. She was like, "You've been on it too long." And I was like, "It's been like an hour."
Yeah.
So
yeah, you really haven't been on video games for
a long time.
Yeah.
So
the example is that I think there can be points of conflict between parents and kids within families, especially if we have an idea of what certain priorities should be, and you have an idea of what priorities should be.
And even what happened is like she told me to get off, and I was just like, everyone thinks it. Every kid thinks it.
You obeyed Mom immediately and said, "Yes, Mother," and did your homework.
Yep. Definitely did that. No, it's like we think it, and this builds for parents too, but you have to weigh what your child will think, because right when my mom said that, I was like, okay, like that's stupid. Like that's like, come on. And she was like, "You've had too much dopamine." And then that's like, oh, it's like max level stupidity, like at that point. But not like slandering my mom or anything like that, but it's just and then it goes to that point where she tells me to get off, and I already have the thought in my mind where I'm thinking.
So it created some conflict.
Yeah.
And created some bad feelings.
Yeah, and every single time she tells me to get off, it brings the no answer into perspective, which obviously in this example, it's not that big of a deal. But
well, what we want to try to do, or the reason why I wanted to talk about this with you, and the reason why I'm encouraging you guys, our listeners, to talk about it, is because that's where a lot of conflict can happen.
Yeah.
And if we're on the same page with this is our vision, these are some priorities that we have, or this is how you prioritize. That's probably what today's show more is about how to prioritize than necessarily what your priorities are, because we're going to get into that in a second. And then next time we're going to talk about routine And if we keep all of that in order, and if we as parents, as a dad and son, with mom as well, or as a family unit, if we can be on the same page and support each other's vision, priorities, routines, I think that just makes for a more harmonious, that's a good word, harmonious family. So let's talk a little bit about what leads our choices. So reason why I felt like this was a good thing to slot in after vision is because a lot of times what drives our choices is how we feel. So today you came home from school, you're like, I don't want to do homework, I've just been in school. You hooked up the video stuff this weekend, and it's like, hey, let's go play a little Fortnite. So you felt like you wanted to chill, and the video game was just a way to satisfy that feeling. Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that it was more feelings driven. But real maturity as we grow, I want to say that maturity is when you make your choices based on your priorities, not based on your feelings. There's nothing wrong with feelings, but if we're led by them, they can just take us down a super bad and unhealthy path, depending on the kind of feelings that we're following. So if feelings or self is guiding our choices versus our priorities, then we can run into trouble. Especially if, as parents, we have certain priorities for you. We're looking typically more long term for you. You're looking short term. This is how I want to feel. Sure. There can be some conflict in there, and we've seen that at different times as well.
Definitely.
So let's go through some scenarios. I came up with some prioritization scenarios, and I want to see how it goes and talk it through it. So that's why this session is around. All right.
Let's do it.
This is the scenario. You have stayed up late doing whatever. Maybe you're on your phone, maybe you're watching Netflix, maybe you're just goofing around, chilling, doing something, and you sleep longer than you should. And
so I sleep into the day.
So you sleep in, but you have school. It's a school day.
Ooh.
So you sleep in, and you have to prioritize.
Okay.
So here are the things on your list that you have to put in order. Shower, do your hair, pick out clothes, be on time for your first hour class.
Shower, do my hair, pick out clothes, be on time for my first hour class.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to.
What is the most important out of those four?
Shower. What was the fourth one?
Well,
shower, be on time,
do my hair, do your hair, pick out your clothes.
Pick out my clothes.
Yeah, have the right outfit that makes you feel
shower, good. Pick out my clothes. Wait. Shower.
So out of those four, what's the most important?
Be on time for my first hour class.
All right. So if you don't have time to do all four of those things, you have to prioritize. Yeah. That means something has to suffer. And being late, if you think that being on time for your first hour class is a priority, now it's a priority for us, it's not always a priority for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why we're talking about prioritization. So what happens then is if we've agreed as parent-child, parent-teen, that a priority is to be on time to school, and all of a sudden your hair is a mess, you don't feel good, you don't have confidence with going to school like you're going. The outfit, maybe it's a special day at school where you get to choose, it's what, pink day, or it's, what is a day at school? Pajama day, or I don't know, some special dress up day, and you want to pick out some clothes and you didn't pick it out the night before. Right. And you want to make sure that you shower because whatever. So all of a sudden, you've got to leave in 20 minutes. What do?
Shower.
How long?
Like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the morning that's hard. Hot water feels.
Yeah, that's.
Feels so good.
Our water bill is it's up there. Thanks to Joe. Joe is our water bill man.
Anyway, definitely shower for like 5 minutes, and then not think too hard for my outfit, for sure. And just go with how my hair is, honestly. I mean, if I'm on a crunch of time, just go with how my hair is, or just not even participate with the day at all.
Okay.
It's not that big.
So what you just stated is best case scenario.
Yeah.
So has that always happened?
No.
No, it's hard because the reason is that it's super hard to prioritize. Typically, you take the shower that you want, and you can't find your clothes. You find the clothes that you want. You get your hair done the way that you want, and you're late. And you're tardy because the secretary, you can talk, you kind of get yourself a pass to class, or the first 15 minutes of class, they don't do anything anyway, or I already know this stuff. It's easy to start justifying, it's okay if I'm late,
Right.
because other things you say is more of a priority because you want to feel confident. You want to know you took a shower, you got the right outfit on, you got hair, you got your stuff for school, you got to carry, you got to make sure you have your sports stuff. So the reason why I spent all that time going through it is you can see very quickly that unless you know what your priorities are, it's just easy for things to shuffle. So one of the things that you put on your vision list was spiritual. Like that's important to you, your faith and your spiritual growth. So unless you realize that that's a priority, how do you schedule a routine that makes that as important? You're tired, so you need more sleep. How do you schedule it as a routine? How do you make it a part of your routine if that's an important part? So let's do another scenario. Mm-hmm. Let's say you get into the routine of getting up in the morning, and you get down, you have your breakfast, you make your lunch, right, and you just have a little breakfast, and you spend maybe 5 minutes just kind of reading in the Word. Mm-hmm. Let's say you do that. Well, let's say you wake up later and you don't have time like you normally have set in your routine. What do you do if that's a priority? How do you shuffle things around and so that you can still maintain a priority and take steps toward your vision, but all of a sudden life's changed for whatever reason?
Okay. Do it first.
Okay.
Like do that specific, like do my spiritual things first.
Okay.
So read the Bible for my 5 minutes, do my soap, and then everything else comes after that. So like read the Bible and then be mindful of when I have to be at school, and then everything comes behind those things. That would be
all right.
What I should do.
So in the morning, I'll give you an alternative. So let's say in the morning you've set up that routine, you're normally doing that, and all of a sudden some morning it just doesn't work out. So if that's a priority, you could still listen to YouVersion on the way. You could still put on a Bible app and listen to something on the way to school. You could say, you know what, during your open hour, you could say, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time in the Word. You could choose the kind of music that you listen to, or just maybe connecting in prayer in your drive.
Yeah.
You could make it a point when you come home from school before you go to bed to take your time then. So what happens a lot of times with routines is you start to get into these habits that you form, and then all of a sudden your routine shifts because life happens. If you lose track of your priorities and your vision, then you step out of some habits, and then pretty soon that thing just fades away, and
you don't worry about it.
It's just not happening anymore. So that's why routine is so important, is to have a set routine that even if you don't hit it every day, if you're hitting it most of the time, you actually will accomplish your vision. So
yeah.
Let's talk about sobriety. So you mentioned one of your important parts of your vision are relationships, families and friends. And you even mentioned just now that a priority for you is friends. So another scenario, you have a chance to go out with some friends, and you step into a place and they've got stuff going on that you know that the school doesn't want you to be in, even though you don't like the rule, or that it's something that we as parents don't want you around, or you just go, you know what, I don't want to deal with that. You have the choice. If you have a priority mm-hmm. around your sobriety, if you have priority around your spiritual and mental health, all of a sudden you kind of go, it's really hard because your friends are right in there with all of that.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Like obviously if right here I have spiritual number one and friends and family last. So it goes spiritual, school, sports. Obviously that's
We didn't put them in order.
We didn't put them in order, but honestly how I'm thinking about it is my spiritual is number one. Family and friends would probably most likely come in number 2 or 3 behind emotional or mental
Health.
Health.
Yep.
But just weigh my options, like is this really gonna be the time of my life, and just weigh between, I can go home, chill, go to bed early, get some sleep, wake up early, go to the gym, do whatever.
How about find some other people that are doing something different that night?
Or that, yeah, you could do that too.
I think sometimes we just get stuck in this mode of, this is what I have planned. It's not working out like I want. And so either we have to go forward ahead with it, and then our priorities suffer.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I think we handle most things in life.
Yeah.
So you can see how it's easy then, if you're talking about priorities, if you're making your choices based on priorities, you have to adjust things if that doesn't continue to be a priority, because how we schedule our time tells us what our priorities are.
Yeah.
So it's easy, sit and scroll through your phone and say, okay, spending some time on the words of priority, but if I got 2 hours scrolling on my phone and no time on the word, then that says what my priorities are.
For sure.
And so careful. Okay, another scenario. You are not in school. You have work. It's July. You normally get up early in the morning. You wake up and you are not feeling well. But you got to go to work.
Calling sick.
Okay, good. Why? Why is that a priority?
Health.
Versus just sucking it up, going to work no matter what.
Mental, emotional, physical health is almost a number one, top 3 priority, top 2 priority.
Over making money, over finances.
For sure.
All right.
You can't, if you get sick, it would be better for you to get sick for that one day than to get sick for the rest 2 weeks, rest week, because especially if you're trying to support your family. Yep. At a job that I work, when you're outside, on roofs, climbing ladders,
you don't want to be not in your right mind.
You don't want to be lightheaded doing that,
yeah.
Because then you'll die.
Okay, good. So these are just 3 quick little examples of how you have to keep in mind priorities and shuffle the deck.
Yeah.
If something happens, and you have to continue to look at, okay, what's my vision? What is priorities in my life?
Yeah.
And what choices do I make, not based on how I feel? Because sometimes you go against your feelings. Like you wake up late, you got to be to school on time, you feel like sleeping in. A priority says, no, I'm going to be to school on time.
Yeah.
But in the case of work or even school, you wake up, you're not feeling well, the priority of your personal health, physical health trumps going to the priority of being to school on time, or the priority of showing up for work that day.
And that's where like waging your highs and lows will come in, waging how are you thinking that day? Are you really thinking, oh, I had a tough night last night, I really don't want to go to school, I'm kind of feeling sick, itchy throat a little bit, or is it really, I'm sick, maybe I threw up, or maybe something else happened and you're actually sick, you're going to the doctors, everything. Like you do the actual procedure of a normal person that would be sick, and you take precautions that day to prioritize something else, but in a good way, so that you can even better prioritize what you're missing throughout later days.
So in other words, you're being honest with yourself.
Honest with yourself. Always be honest with yourself, and then you'll find the true outcome.
All right. So let's read. There's a scripture that I think will help us a little bit here, and I think will make the point around priorities. So it's Matthew 6:33. Can you see that with the light?
Yep. You read it?
Yeah.
Matthew 6:33. Seek the kingdom of God above all else, and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need.
So the principle here, this is Jesus' probably most popular Sermon on the Mount, and he's sharing just different ways to live. Another translation says, seek first, in other words, prioritize the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added unto you.
That's good.
So the principle that Jesus is saying here is if you'll set what's important to God first, other stuff will take care of itself. And I've seen that happen in my life a lot, where like I'll just take a business example. I have to go into a meeting with someone. I have something I have to accomplish, and the person and I only have an hour with this person, and for 50 minutes we're just chatting about this and that, and I'm thinking, wait a second, I have to leave this meeting with an outcome of some kind. Mm-hmm. But I'm in my head, I'm saying, okay, God, I'm in this meeting. You know why I'm in this meeting. I need to have this outcome. I pray that you work it out because I'm concerned about this person and what you have for this person. And inevitably, I've had this happen a ton of times where things aren't going like I thought with the amount of time that I had, but because I put God into it and wanted what he wanted done first, all of a sudden, with 5 minutes left in the meeting, everything happens. Mm. Everything that I thought would take an hour to discuss, all of a sudden, things get done in 2-3 minutes. And same thing with work. I found that if you put God first, if you include him and prioritize what he wants, I found like God multiplies time somehow. I don't know. It's the weirdest thing where something might have taken me a couple hours to work on. All of a sudden it takes me 30 minutes. It's really odd how God does that. But I think it's a spiritual principle that if we will prioritize things that God says are important and we agree with him in that somehow things work out. So let's go back to the scenario with, why is this important to be about awake and sober? Why are we bringing this up on the podcast where we're saying, okay, we're having conversations that keep us awake and sober? Well, priorities is very much like that. Yeah. Because it's easy, if we're not alert and awake to what's going on around us, we can find ourselves in a situation where a priority are friendships, people that are important to us, but we find ourselves stuck in a situation. And unless we can realize, wait a second, I'm going to put God first. I'm going to bring what he values most and prioritizes. I'm going to own it for myself too and trust that he's going to work this out. I just want to encourage you, Joe, that if you'll do that, instead of the change of plan that you were hoping to avoid, all of a sudden turns out to be the best option that never would have happened at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good, especially when it says seek the kingdom of God above all else. If it just said seek the kingdom of God and live righteously and he will give you everything you need, I don't think it would be a popular verse. Obviously it would be a popular verse because it says everything you need, he'll give you everything you need if you seek him, because that's what people want to hear. He'll give you what you need if you seek him. But it's nothing really comes to it unless you apply the above all else. If you have the ability to either spend time with God when you haven't that day, spend time with God or go out or do homework or watch a movie, play video games, whatever you want to do. Above all else, doing that specific thing just sets you one step ahead of any other, unless they're following this verse, any other honestly kid my age, and just sets you up for success no matter what you're doing. It doesn't even have to be kingdom related. Whatever you're doing, it will set you up for success.
So I'd like to shift this verse a little bit. Sometimes it'd be easy to say, seek God first. That means when you get up in the morning, you need to have your quiet time. It'd be easy to interpret the verse that way.
For sure.
What I'm saying is put God's priorities, if you put them first in front of you, if you'll value them and prioritize them, he'll work stuff out.
That's good.
That's what I'm trying to get across here. So whether it's in the morning, you get up late, you realize, okay, my school says I need to be at school this time. My parents, I don't want to be tardy. And it's one of those things you have to sacrifice and it causes you to suffer a little bit. and it's not working out the way that you have planned,
Yeah.
when you let it go and you say, okay, God, I'm going to prioritize what you say is important. I'm going to honor my parents. I'm going to honor these things that I know are in my right mind, I feel are the best in my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust that you're going to work stuff out for me better than if I just took these things into my own hands and tried to work stuff out for myself. That's really my message I want to share with you today, is that if you will put God's priorities first and you will surrender that, even though it might feel like a sacrifice, you'll find God working stuff out for you on your behalf better than if you just tried to work it out for yourself.
That's good.
So that's what I'm going to encourage you with. So those watching, I want to encourage you to have this discussion. You just saw kind of a raw discussion around priorities. You probably have your own scenarios where, priorities, it's easy to live by your feelings.
For sure.
Man, it's easy to live by your feelings or what's super urgent in the moment versus what your priorities are. So,
matter of fact, it's the easiest to live by your
absolutely.
feelings. Nothing easier than that. Just living, going through the motions of life.
For sure.
Feeling whatever you want to feel, not holding back anything. Honestly, it's the easiest way to live. So,
but if we want to be mature and not just be, childish, childlike, if we
Right.
want the privileges that come with being an adult, maturity happens when we allow our priorities to govern our choices.
and by saying that, living easily is not a good thing. Life comes with challenges, and being a follower of Christ comes with challenges. And if you're not experiencing any challenges, you're doing something wrong. To be honest,
that's probably the true. Yeah, and typically priorities. These five goals that you have, there's sacrifice involved in each one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But those people that make those sacrifices, life is so much more fulfilling as we make them. Well, we'll talk more next time about routines. We'll get into some routine. Good discussion today. Anything else from you?
Nothing else.
All right.
Nothing else. All right. Peace.